when we run for a long duration or when we do a lot of rigorous exercises, our muscles in the hands and in the legs start paining. But when we do light work, like housework, our muscles do not pain. So why is it happening? Well, to do work, energy is required, and this energy is supplied by oxygen, which is taken into our body by the process of respiration. Now, during short durational work, the amount of oxygen that we breathe in is sufficient to provide the energy that is required to do this kind of a work. But when we do a lot of work, a lot of rigorous exercises like running, our muscles are continuously working. It continuously contracts and relaxes in a very fast rate. Now, the rate at which we breathe is not as much as the amount of work that is being done by the muscles. So, there is lack of oxygen in the body, and this lack of oxygen causes a pain sensation in our muscles. So, why does it cause a pain sensation? Well, we'll see. When our body gets sufficient amount of oxygen, glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound, gets completely broken into 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. See, glucose which we intake in the cell gets broken down to pyruvic acid, which then, in presence of sufficient amount of oxygen, completely breaks down to form carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP. But if there is not sufficient oxygen present in the body, glucose gets broken down into pyruvic acid in the cytoplasm. But pyruvic acid does not get broken down to carbon dioxide and energy. It breaks down incompletely to form a compound known as lactic acid. Lactic acid is a 3-carbon compound which cannot move out of the body cells and causes a pain sensation. So during complete respiration, glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound, gets broken down into pyruvic acid in the cytoplasm, and this pyruvic acid, along with oxygen within the mitochondria, gets broken down to form carbon dioxide. Now, this process which takes place in the cytoplasm, that is the conversion of glucose to pyruvic acid, is known as glycolysis. And during glycolysis, 2 molecules of ATP is generated. Now, pyruvic acid further gets broken down into the mitochondria to form carbon dioxide. And this process is known as the Krebs cycle. In the Krebs cycle, 36 ATP is generated. Now, when there is not enough oxygen in the body, glucose gets converted to pyruvic acid with the generation of 2 ATP, but pyruvic acid cannot get completely broken down to carbon dioxide. It gets broken down to form lactic acid, which is a 3-carbon compound. Now, since this process is happening when there is not enough oxygen in the body, that is, in the absence of oxygen, it is known as anaerobic respiration. Which means, in the lack of oxygen, this process of respiration is taking place in the body. Now see, anaerobic respiration produces only 2 molecules of ATP. Now, after doing rigorous exercises, when we rest, the pain sensation that was caused by lactic acid slowly goes away. So, how is that happening? Well, during resting, we pant a lot. That is, we are taking in greater amount of oxygen in the body. And in this presence of oxygen, lactic acid gets converted back to pyruvic acid. So oxygen causes the conversion of lactic acid back to pyruvic acid, which can further break down into carbon dioxide. So since lactic acid gets converted, the pain sensation slowly goes away. So let us do a quick summary. Glucose gets converted to pyruvic acid and 2 molecules of ATP in the cytoplasm. Now pyruvic acid, in the presence of oxygen, gets broken down to form carbon dioxide, water vapor and energy, 36 molecules of ATP. But pyruvic acid, in absence of oxygen or in lack of oxygen, produces lactic acid, which is a 3-carbon compound. So this energy is 2 ATP, and this energy that is formed during aerobic respiration or respiration in presence of oxygen is 36 ATP. So during aerobic respiration, 38 ATP molecules are generated, whereas during anaerobic respiration, only 2 molecules of ATP are generated. Now, some microbes like yeast, which is a plant body, does not require oxygen to respire. It can carry on its respiration anaerobically. This organism converts glucose anaerobically, that is, in the absence of oxygen, into alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is how breweries manufacture alcohol. Yeast converts glucose into 2 molecules of alcohol and 2 molecules of carbon dioxide. Now this anaerobic respiration of microbes is different than the anaerobic respiration of mammals, where glucose gets converted to lactic acid.